Hey everybody, this is Tasha with Prep For It, and my lovely co-host Mouse Toes on the bottom of the screen there. And then our guest today is Ghost Prepper. Welcome, Ghost.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
I've been harassing him to come on the chat for a while, and finally he agreed. So I'm so happy that he came on. He is so knowledgeable as far as prepping goes, canning, things like that. And, he raises meat rabbits as well and shows how to build his own cages. So he's just a very knowledgeable guy, and I sure appreciate him. And let me talk about your channel for a minute. It used to be WWGD for What Would Ghosts Do, but now it's WWWD for What Would We Do. And you do that with backwoods and prepping, correct?
Correct.
And you do that what night?
Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock.
Okay. And then is that just on your channel? Or do you two alternate that?
We alternate that because we worked really well together, and we had a really good response the first time we were on camera together. Because we both bring two separate things to the table. I'm all about the prep, and he's all about the Patriot stuff and
Right.
stuff. And there's two different pools of subscribers, and we kind of brought them all together on our channel. So we on my week on his, so that way not one person's gonna watch ours. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, I started a new show called Prep Rally, where all we talk about is prepping. If you get off on the sidetrack, I'll kick you off. It's just nothing but prepping. And the people in the chat do a real good job of dialing us back in, because I'll get distracted and go down a rabbit hole like that. So they kind of pull us back in, but we do that on Fridays and Saturdays. But it'll be like, Ghost, get back to prepping. Ghost, stop, get back to prepping. I'm like, sorry.
No, I love it. Let's say hi to a few of the people out there. Let's see. We have Bug Dude, 53, Trish Wiley, Virginia Roots, Iva K.I., and let me see if I missed anybody. If I didn't say your name, make sure you actually say hi in the side chat so we can say hi to you and know who's out there. We'll just kind of kill a little bit of time for a second while we're waiting for a few more people to come in. So tell us a little bit about your channel so everybody can get an idea. And Ghost and Mouse Toes links are in the description below, so you can go to their channels and check them out, get them subbed up. And by the way, congratulations on your recent 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy for you. I did the same. So I think we did it like a couple of weeks apart. So I was really cheering for you when you got those 1,000 subs.
Well, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
My channel is really kind of weird. I've been a part of the community for about 5 or 6 years now on YouTube, just under my real name. I've been in most everybody's chats. I know most of the
Right.
big of the famous ones I have for 4 or 5 years, and I never started a channel. I actually built my channel in December, like in the middle of December, but I never uploaded any content. I never made a video. One night I just decided to make me a channel, and I did. And then I started going in the chats, under the Ghost Prepper name. And I remember one morning, and it was weird. I was up at 7 a.m. I think I was still drinking beer. I was hungover. It was one of them nights, and I saw that Prepper Tribe was on live at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, wow, that's a really weird time to go live. So I went live, and it was his first live show. And next thing you know, I'm up on the panel answering questions, and he's like, dude, you got to start a channel. I'm like, all right, fine, I will. And he started shouting me out live on his channel. And before I ever posted the video, I had almost 100 subscribers from his channel.
That's awesome. I love Prepper Tribe.
Oh, yeah.
So I love his rants that he does, his daily rants where he's sitting in his van and he's going at
Oh, that's native. That's native.
Prepper Tribe. Okay, yeah, that's right. Native.
I mean, they're usually on screen together, but it's two separate
That's
channels.
right.
Yeah. I get them confused
right.
too. I'll call one, like I'll call Native Tribe, and I'll call Tribe Native. I get them confused.
Sorry, Native and Devout. Welcome, and I'm really sorry I misspoke. But Native, I love you. I love your rants when you're sitting in your van. And Prepper Tribe is awesome too. That's right. I do watch Prepper Tribe as well, but I watch Native more. I have to say, just because I don't know, he comes up on my feed more. Maybe I need to go back and make sure I've got the bell clicked on Prepper Tribe still. Hey, Creative Redundancy. Okay, you guys, if I missed anybody, I'm really sorry. If for some reason we get cut off, I'll jump right back on because we do have the lousiest internet practically in the entire world. At least we don't have dial-up anymore. But if we get cut out, y'all stay on screen and I'll be back. You may actually, one of you may end up being the person to have to let me back in then if that happens. So be prepared for that. But we'll go ahead and get started. So tonight still is basically assessing our preps and then trying to fill in those gaps, and then also using creative ways in case like the supply chain is gone for good. What are some creative ways that you can fill in those areas, and some things that you can have on hand ahead of time so that if that does happen, you can kind of, switch it up a little bit and use the things that you have. So anyway, my deal is last week during our live stream, Mouse and I both came up with the same conclusion. Just one of our worst case scenarios would be just basically a disruption in the supply chain, a permanent disruption in the supply chain. Whether it be because the balloon goes up or whatever, you're still going to have to figure out how to meet those basic needs that we have. So one of the things we talked about is being creative with things like last year, people threw a big old fit because they couldn't find wet wipes for their babies' butts. Well, what did they do before wet wipes, people? They used washcloths and they washed them, So we've got to use common sense and things like that. So I'm just curious, like, how do each of you go about assessing your preps and thinking about to me, the smartest way to prep is thinking about the worst case scenario and prepping for that. And you're prepared for most anything else that comes your way if you do that. So Ghost, I'll let you go first. What do you think?
Ladies first, I insist.
Oh, okay, Mouse.
We had a righteous discussion last week because it got both of our goats up, because we just been through the big V or red dragon nightmare, right? Where people are having a fit because not only can they not get toilet paper, which turns out to be a necessity, but they're upset here in the South because they can't get any paper towels. And I thought I could give two fat figs if I have a roll of paper towels. That is why I have rags and t-shirt rags and clean my countertops with that. And I'm on a septic tank. So there is no spraying down anything with bleach, then using a rag to wipe it and then throwing that in my washing machine. Because guess where the bleach goes? Right into my septic tank to kill all of my good bacteria. I've had this septic tank. We built this house 8 years ago and ain't been one honey truck come out to suck it out. And I ain't fixing to have one honey truck because I know how to treat a septic tank and bleach ain't the way.
Yeah.
And so we learned, like Oily was saying, you can't make your own hand sanitizer. You don't have a 24 case of peroxide or rubbing alcohol or basic things of life on hand. Now, I still have not been able to replace the 166 jars of food that I used and the 24 things in Seal meals of chicken thighs with bone and skin that I like to make chicken cacciatore with. We ate those. They've not been able to be replenished from the store. So those things we can deal with. But in the name of God, who doesn't have enough Band-Aids or Neosporin or Q-tips or eardrops, the basics of life? So we had a great discussion last week and we were both getting our blood pressure up about it because we just don't sweat the small stuff. So now you go ahead, Ghost, or I'll talk to your ears bleeding. You'll run out of here screaming.
Well, okay. And both you ladies are awesome. I can already tell right now this is going to be a really fun show.
Thank you.
But something about me, my brain works a little bit different than most people's. I have a TBI. I have some, not significant, but a decent amount of brain damage from an injury I suffered or whatever. That's the reason I have a service dog. And that's the reason sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 days without sleep. And my brain just goes crazy with all these different scenarios. Like if I'm thinking about something before I go to sleep, it continues all night long. And I'll wake up the next morning and I'll be outside just doing something crazy. But when this stuff started back beginning of the year last year, I remember I looked at one of my coworkers and I'm like, so what do you think about this deal overseas? And she's like, it's going to blow over. I said, nah, I don't think so. And she's like, why do you think it's going to blow over? I said, I just don't. I said, I think it's going to explode. I think it's going to turn into a not real, not fake, kind of fake, a little bit real, but it's going to be big. It's going to be worldwide. I'm telling you right now. And within
Right.
2 months, she was texting me. She goes, dude, how did you know? I was like, it just makes sense. It was the way it was presented on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was presented in a way to say we're stupid. Oh yeah, we're going to shut down the flights and the borders after we get a whole bunch of cases in here. Then we're going to shut it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blame people for not doing it faster when they said, hey, let's do it right now. But like in my situation with the preps, when I really first got really big into canning, I used to catch crap from my family because every time I would go to the store, which was pretty much every day, because that's where I take my dog for his exercise, is to walk about 1.5 miles in Walmart every single day. Every day I'd come home with at least a case of mason jars and 4 or 5 boxes of the lids every single day. I have thousands. So when nobody could find any, I have enough. Like I never need to buy another one, like forever, except maybe live 10 years down the road.
That's awesome.
Like the holes that I had in my preps, I had plenty of food. The toilet paper thing, it just like I got into a conversation with a lady in line. She had one buggy full of nothing but toilet paper. And then she was pulling a buggy behind her and it had like a gallon of milk, some bread, some eggs, and a few random things, not even more than like $20 worth of food. And I'm looking at her and I said, what's going on? Why is everybody, what's the deal with the toilet paper? She goes, the pandemic, we got to have toilet paper. There's going to be a shortage. I'm like, I said, well, you've got a year's worth of toilet paper in your buggy, and then you've got like literally a week's worth of food. Mm-hmm. So if that's all the food you're getting, and that's all the food you got, why would you need toilet paper? You're not putting anything into the system, so nothing's coming out the other end.
Yeah.
Your math doesn't work for me, so I don't. But as far as like my preps go, I focus on the major ones. It's water, it's food, and it's security for those major things. As long as I've got water and food and a way to keep it safe, the rest of it's just a luxury in my eyes. I look forward to prepping for the rebuild, But,
see,
exactly.
Right there, I have to interrupt and say this out loud. I now have a deep and unending crush on Ghost Prepper. Because
ladies, he's single, isn't he? Aren't you single, Ghost?
I've been single for a long time.
Oh Lord.
Okay. Ghost, just to tell you, sorry, but both of these hot chicks, we're taken, we're married. I know it's a disappointment, but you just have to live with it.
It's just my luck. I'm always a dollar short.
I tell you.
Layer in the side, I'll remember I made a great video with a toilet paper as my thumbnail. Well, YouTube flagged it and made me take it down because I said, what is the point of having toilet paper if you don't have food? If you don't put food in, nothing's coming out. And it was offensive. So, and Ghost Prepper just said it out loud. Your experience.
I looked at everybody. I'm like, and I had a family member, my sister-in-law lived pretty close to me. All this happened when I lived in Florida. I've already bugged out to North Carolina. Well, I'm actually on the North-South Carolina border. But I remember my sister-in-law, she's freaking out. She literally sent me a text message about toilet paper. And this is somebody I've been trying to get to prep for like the last 3 years. And they were making fun of me and they're all freaking out. And I'm laughing my ass off. They're like, what's so funny? I'm like, you people are running around like chickens with your head cut off. I don't need to go to the store. I don't need to go to the store for at least a year for anything. And she's like, we're out of toilet paper. I've been to the store. They don't have any. I said, swing by the house. Just come in the house and I'll give you a case. You've got extra? Yeah, I've got a year's worth. I've had it forever. I mean, it's paper. It's not going to go bad. Yeah, I've got plenty. Come get some. But yeah, but to me, I was like the weird guy. You know what I mean? The funny guy. Oh my God, he puts up food. I'm like, yeah, and I'm eating rice right now that I paid 40 cents a pound for.
Yes.
In 5 years, I'm going to still rice that I paid 40 cents a pound for.
Isn't
the
that
rest
awesome?
of you dumplings are going to be eating rice you probably paid $5 a pound for.
Yeah.
So you should have a savings account that's going to give you that kind of return on 40 cents.
Exactly. And that what you said a while ago was perfect. You prep for the things that you have to live, and everything else is a luxury. So that's where you need to start when you're prepping, is you start with the things that sustain life and then work your way out from there. I mean, I don't understand people who are going for all of the gear first and all of the luxuries first, and then they don't even have their water covered, or they don't have even enough food to cover 3 days, let alone
Yeah.
3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. It just it baffles me. And if somebody's new to prepping, I'm not trying to discourage you or put you down. Just
Mm.
learn from some of the mistakes that we've made. We've all made mistakes while we were prepping,
Oh
and
yeah.
start with your basic things. The rules of 3 in prepping: 3 minutes without air, 3 minutes, 3 days without water, 3 hours without shelter in inclement weather, 3 weeks without food. Those are the things you concentrate on. So do that first, and build yourself goals, set yourself goals, so that you can just keep moving forward and keep adding on to it. And if at all possible, one other thing is, don't waste. Uh-oh, I froze up.
You're good.
You're
There
good.
we go. Don't waste stuff now, because like they say, waste not, want not. If you don't waste today, you won't want later. Why is there so many people that have this aversion to eating leftovers? I don't understand it. It's just pre-cooked meal.
People
Yes.
don't realize beans always taste better the third day when they're
Always.
sitting in the refrigerator soaking up that goodness from
Stews.
that ham hock. Oof.
Yes, stews, beans, all of that. Yeah, so much better. Those flavors have a chance to marry and do their
Mhm.
thing and get
I
all
get
up in each
angry.
other's business. Do
I
what?
get I get angry if food goes bad in the refrigerator before we get to finish it off. I literally
Yeah.
Oh
get
yeah,
pissed off. That's waste.
yeah,
I get angry, like
yeah.
angry.
We
Angry.
talked a little bit last week about, even though things are higher in cost now, and I was in the similar place with toilet paper as Ghost. Once toilet paper was back in the store, I still had 18 of those 12 packs, of like Northern Angel Soft, whatever. So I wasn't going to run out because I've had them forever. So even though they're going to pay a lot more for rice or chicken to can or ground beef, you have to figure out what the best price now is.
Right.
Because a lot of my neighbors have said, well, I can't start now, it's too expensive. It ain't never going lower in cost.
The cost you're paying today is the cheapest you're ever going to get it.
Thank
Yep.
you, because the game is afoot, just what Ghost talked about. This is in place now, ain't nothing changes, and it is what it is. So you start where you are. You're not going to be able to buy 50 pounds of rice like we could, right, out of petty cash, or
Yeah.
change in our car. You're going to have to figure out what the best price in your area now is, getting to do it. And Ghost, you would like a series we did. Oily was not on the YouTubes at that time. She was taking a break because she had her granddaughter. But Mom's the Layers, who's in the side chat, and Nina, I never can remember her new channel name. Oily, do you? Southern
Yeah, it's just
Homestead.
Discover Sustainable.
Yes. So we did a ladies chat every Thursday, Ghost, and we talked about what meals can we make. You learn in the Army red, yellow, green, right? A protein, a starch, that sort of thing. So we would all come up with, like, we got a jar of chicken and a thing of sour cream powder. What can we make out of it? And it helped people in our side chat who are not used to planning meals, because they swing into Little Caesars, they pick up McDonald's, they go into Applebee's. Well, there is where your money is. Quit going into Starbucks and paying $8.50 for a cup of coffee.
Who
But
does that?
women no longer know how to make a weekly menu, just shop for that. But they got their nails did and their hair's blonde and their lips are puffy because they got the money for that. So we're like, it's just where you want to put your money. You make that decision. I am hungry. I grew up poor. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. My mother could turn grass in the yard into some kind of Turkish delight. Okay. So food makes me happy. And I like to eat 3 meals a day, as does my husband. So when you want something bad enough, you find a way to get it. Chicken will pull me out of a depression. Chocolate will make me never depressed again. And there will be malts in this house, right, in the middle of all that happening. So I completely feel you on that. Decide what you need. And if we hadn't learned anything over the Red Dragon and nothing in the store, then you have to look in the mirror as a parent and go, I'm unteachable and my family is going to starve to death. And that falls on me. You have to make the decision to learn.
Yeah.
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 And that's sad to think about that. And you know, all the people that they were just stubborn and would not put some stuff back. Even after this last year, not putting things back for their families, they are making a deliberate choice to starve their family in the future, put their
Yes.
family at risk, you know, and that's really sad in my eyes, you know, for the innocent kids involved in all of that. It really is
Yeah.
sad.
I
And
mean,
Ghost has got a dog. He can can his own dog food. He ain't got to buy it at the store.
no, that's why I have a crap load of beans and rice, because beans and rice are an awesome dog food. They augment other things. Plus, he eats a carrot a day. He loves carrots. He loves raw green beans. I mean, those are actually very good and very healthy for dogs, and they also clean their teeth. It's like all natural.
Yes.
But you know, I also do something really weird with my preps too. I'm at a for most of my stuff, I'm at a in between 3 and 5 year rotation on all my stuff.
Nice.
So I actually exist on, I'd probably say 80 to 80, maybe 80, call it 80% of what I consume right now comes straight from my preps. And I'm at the point now to where I'm rotating through my preps, just like you rotate
Yes.
through anything else. So, but
Right.
they're within the 3 to 5 year range of being canned. And so they're still just as good as they were the day I canned them. But
Yes.
I also learned something really important from Bear Independent way back when he was talking about his 52 weeks and his 7 meal plan, where you pick 7 meals that your family eats, and then you multiply that 7 times 52, and you have spaghetti every single Monday or one day a week for 52 years, and you got
Yeah.
your 1 year. But I went a little bit further. I said, well, why would I just want to do just 7 meals? Let me do like 14 different prepared meals or 21 different prepared meals. Then my menu's a little bit bigger, so your palate doesn't get, you know, so
Yeah.
bored with the same thing over and over, you know. And then I
Exactly.
also gets a half a teaspoon of salt in it, so my sodium intake's already taken care of, which
Mhm.
means I don't have to store as much salt. I do store quite a bit of salt, but it'll be for curing meat and stuff like that.
Right.
But as far as intake, it's already in the food. You know, I went so far as to get away from the dry canning and the vacuum seal the beans and rice, because I got to thinking about it. I'm like, I'm looking at a mason jar sitting there with rice in it or dried beans. I'm like, that is a complete waste of that mason jar, and those are expensive.
Preach. Preach. I call it a holy vessel. It's a holy
Everything else,
vessel.
I have anything dry. Like the only stuff I have dry, like I do have a whole bunch, like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of beans and rice that are, but they're vacuum sealed in Mylar
Yes.
in 5-gallon bags.
Right.
And the way I vacuum seal them is, you know, I freeze my rice and beans for 3 days, 72 hours are in the freezer. Then I pull them
Right.
out and I let them sit on the counter for at least another 48 hours to slowly come back to room temperature. That way there's no condensation issue when I'm
Mhm.
vacuum sealing it. But I do the oxygen absorber, and then I converted a little vacuum cleaner. I literally duct tape the McDonald's straw onto the hose at the very end, so everything's sucking through the straw.
Ah.
I lay the Mylar down on its side and I seal all the way across the top of the Mylar, except for I make a little cavity for the straw and I slide it in there and I suck all the air out, and then I seal it real quick. So that way I know
There you go.
it doesn't work. It's like supercharged. Like my rice and beans, they're vacuum sealed into bricks. They look like they're concrete. They're hard as a rock.
Yeah.
There's no air at all. But like
Yeah.
as far as my mason jars, when I look at a mason jar, I want to see a meal. I want to see it already prepared, already cooked. I can eat it cold right out of the jar. There's no preparation needed if it comes to that. If you dry can rice and beans, dried rice and beans, you still got hours of preparation. You've got a water issue that's involved in there. And that's I mean, it's good to have it for backup. I do have plenty of it, but I have years worth of, I can just pop the seal and eat what's in it. You know, every kind of bean you can think of.
It's the reason that I love to can ground beef is I can turn that into immediate tacos. I can always make a tortilla, right, if I need it and don't have a hard shell taco. It's immediate spaghetti with some of my own canned tomato sauce, tomato juice, that sort of thing. I don't put spices in any of my jars like chicken or ground beef. so I can turn it into what I want. And just what you said, you do not want to eat the same thing over and over. It makes you grumpy, and it may be the high point. When we all chose to follow the rules of quarantine 2 weeks, I would not have, like Ghost said, want to eat that same thing for 5 days. But for
Yeah.
people who don't cook or preparing meals is new, it's a good way to start. But we'd have lost our minds in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's like right now, I'm 80% I eat my prep. So if when everything does go nuts, my palate doesn't need to adjust. It's already adjusted. I'm already eating my preps now. But I'm rotating. It's
Not
like
just your,
like today. Like
yeah,
today, I just got
not just your palate, but your body.
right.
Mhm.
And like today,
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
I got 30 pounds of split breast chicken meat, split breast, because I like it with the bones and the skin, because that way I can do my chicken broth and my bone broth. Why would you waste all that goodness when you're cooking this chicken and not make bone broth? Blows my mind. But I got 30 more pounds of that. I found it on sale today for like $1.70 a pound. Great price.
Oh, nice.
So I can replenish, the chicken, and I've got years worth of it, because honestly, my favorite thing to can is chicken, because you're getting the free bone broth and the free chicken broth with it. Plus, chicken best meats for canning it, chicken and rabbit, because the texture stays the same, the flavors. Like, you literally can't tell if the chicken I'm feeding you is canned or not. But like ground beef, there is a difference in the texture, and there's a small flavor difference. But it depends on what you're putting it in. If you're putting it in spaghetti or something like that, you're not going to notice the flavor change, but you may notice the texture change in your mouth.
Mhm.
But it's still spaghetti. It's still good to go.
And that meat's still full of protein. Yep. And in our case, because we get all the fat out of it, that helps with, people who are a little bit chubby. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we all need fat, we all need fat in our diet. Most people just don't even eat a well-balanced meal. I'm 64, and I will sit here and have meatloaf, right? Mashed potatoes and gravy and carrots, but I have to have a glass of milk. I grew up. It's not a meal for the evening. Sometimes I'll turn it into the afternoon if I'm working that night, but I have to have a well-balanced and a salad on the side to feel like I had a full meal, other than, your breakfast food or oatmeal, a sandwich. Like, I made tuna salad today, and my tuna cans are about, 7 years old. They hadn't expired, but I got them when they were on sale. And it gives you so many choices. You just have to have a good attitude about it. And if we eat well, we're less grumpy. We're less likely to, shoot people walking up our driveway looking for a teaspoon of yeast,
Right. And depending on how you lay out your preps, it's like, and I always tell people, grow your preps. And I'm not just repeating what somebody else said.
Mhm.
I literally took 2 beans out of every single flavor of bean that I saved when I was sealing them, and I planted them, and every single bean sprouted within 3 days, and every one of them came from Walmart.
That's so cool.
You can grow every single bean that you dry store. I have a garden. I'm doing my container garden now, and I'm experimenting with the potatoes and the tomatoes, and I'm getting into the rabbitry, because I'm going to raise the rabbits, because that'll probably be my, you were talking about if the supply chain does completely just go kaput. Well, I've got my protein source, which is the rabbits, but I've also got my fat source, which is I've got about 18 pounds of butter. I'm gonna put up a whole bunch of ghee. That'll be my additional fat intake if I need extra, because rabbit meat is so healthy, it'll kill you if that's all you eat.
Yes.
It's like nothing but good. How good it is.
Yes.
But I've got my neighbor who's getting into it, and he's doing the meat chickens and the laying hens. So I've got access to eggs, fresh eggs, a replenishment of the chicken meat. Plus, I'm giving him rabbit meat and fertilizer for his garden. He's giving me chickens and eggs, and now I'm just trying to network with a guy here locally that has a couple of dairy cows where I can get the milk,
Nice.
keep a replenishment of milk, where I can just walk to his place every day or hop on a bicycle or something like that. Because long term, it's like I'm saying, if the supply chain completely stops, I mean, really, what do you really need?
Mm-hmm.
Grow your own food. What do you really need to go to the store for? Like, really?
And you have to create your own supply chain, like you just did locally.
Yeah, you've got to replenish.
It's got to be accessible to you, even in a situation where, like, it was a CME, a CMP, or an EMP, things like that, where it's going to be close by. Like, we have cattle. My brother-in-law up the road has chickens. He's maybe a half mile up the road. So it's doable, We could walk it if we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So exactly,
And
create
all
your own
you
supply
do
chain.
with
I mean,
rabbit, right, is add fat to it. Isn't that right, Ghost? Just to
yeah,
put some fat in it when you cook it.
yeah, that's what I plan on doing. Just adding, cooking it in ghee, or just making sure I'm. If it came down to all I had left was rabbit meat, then I'm cooking it in ghee. I'm floating it in ghee to make sure I'm getting my fat intake.
Okay, good.
But I mean, it's like the Eskimos up in Alaska. I mean, they literally would die if they didn't eat the fat from the seals that they harvest each year, because the fish and stuff they're eating, they're getting so much protein and no fat. It'll destroy you. And there's one thing too with when this whole pandemic thing first hit, everybody's getting all the Lysol and disinfecting this and that and the other. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're using hand sanitizer on your hand 15 times a day. You realize you're killing all the good bacteria that's keeping you safe. Like legit, you're killing all the good stuff that's just going to fight it if you come in contact with it with dirty hands versus coming in contact with it with freshly clean, sanitized hands. Guess who's going to get sick first? Those
You,
freshly clean, sanitized hands. You know what I mean? I
you
didn't
are
do any of that.
people. You Ghosts
Water.
are our people. We had this conversation last week, like it made us mental. When we
Yeah.
learned that 35% of the Americans didn't wash their hands at all ever, right? And I'm like, we just come back. If Vern hit the grocery, we were scrubbing our hands at the sink, wiping stuff down, right? But it was like at no point would my husband have come back from the store and go, "Ooh, I found hand sanitizer," because brother knows I got the ingredients to make that. He's looking for chicken with the bone on it, to keep ourselves replenished.
Yeah.
You, my brother, are our people, because me and Oily lost our mind over that. We're looking for
Yeah. It's
important
almost
things.
like,
Yeah.
We have a question here on the screen.
Is it hard?
no,
No.
if you
What
start them
about
that
food?
way.
What about food prepping for young kids? I have a 4, 3, and 1-year-old from Rebecca Shepherd. Welcome, Rebecca, by the way.
Hello.
Anybody want to?
Is the child a picky eater? Because this is my answer to that, and this will sound harsh. If you have really picky eaters for children, just like a dog who doesn't get his favorite dog food for 3 days, on that fourth day, those carrots, that squash, the green beans, which might be what you have for a meal, will look so appetizing to that child that they will eat them. So it's only tough if they're super picky eaters, in my personal old lady grandma opinion. Ghost will have something nicer to say than I just did, but
Well,
I
I
promise.
remember, raising my kids. I at the time I was on a farm in Mississippi, and I mean, I didn't, my girls they were daddy's girls. I mean, they didn't get McDonald's chicken nuggets every other day. I don't do fast food. This shit is bad for you. Every time I eat fast food, I get sick to my stomach because it's just nasty. It's not even food. It's gross. I mean, a family of 4, it's like $40 to go to McDonald's. I can eat for a month on $40 and have change left over, But I mean,
Yes.
my kids were raised, at least one of our meals every single day is beans and rice. I grew up that way. So that's not a big deal for me to eat beans and rice every day. I've done it my entire life. I'm 51 years old. I love beans and rice. Love them. So my kids grew up eating that food. They grew up eating their vegetables. That was what was in front of them. But the first time you spoil them when they're, 2, 3, 4 years old, and it's McDonald's chicken McNuggets and all the commercials that are aimed for kids with this bullshit, excuse my language, food. And the first time you give them a little bit, then they got to have it every single day. Then they want it, want it, want it. So then if the grid goes down and they can't get that anymore, they don't understand that. You know what I mean? It's not like you can. Now, granted, the chicken McNugget will probably last forever with all the preservatives that are in it. But, it's an unrealistic goal to prep specialty foods like that for children, because you know what? If the balloon goes up, the world's going to change, and everybody in it that's going to survive is going to have to change whether they want to or not. That includes kids. Sorry to say, but you know what? They're more elastic than the rest of us. They'll adjust quick.
I've asked every parent, or it's usually younger people than me, friends, children with their grandchildren. I'd like you, when you go home, take a picture of your cereal cabinet for me. And when they do, it's Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops, right? Kids get addicted to that amount of sugar. So they're not going to want oatmeal after having that. I gave up cereal like 9 years ago because it's full of just what you said, processed food. But believe me, 3 weeks without my Raisin Bran Crunch, I was a sad little sack, right? But it's the same with, I'll enjoy the smell of like McDonald's, but I don't want to eat the processed bun. I don't want to eat that funky meat. And if I eat all those greasy French fries and then I get the fried cherry pie, I do not feel good for 2 or 3 days. My body's
Yeah,
used to that garbage.
yeah.
And so you got to change. Children are forced to eat what a parent or grandparent gives them. And to me, to feed a kid Fruit Loops or Captain Crunches, look at what they're eating. It's just crazy. My parents couldn't, and cereal went up to $4.59 a box many years ago. And I was like, I can't afford to eat this garbage either.
Yeah. And really, one of the things that you can do as a tip, I used to do childcare work on top of raising my own kids and my grandkid, having her partial time, is, get the kids involved in the cooking. They're more likely to eat the food if they're involved in growing it or cooking it or both. Um, give them a couple of different choices for a menu and say, okay, today's your turn to pick. What would you like? Would you like this menu or would you like this menu? Or give them, let them help you pick what you're going to cook. Like, which meat would you like? Would you like chicken? Would you like beef? Whatever. And then what vegetable, what starch? Things like that to get them involved, because then they feel like they have some control over what they're eating, but you're still just giving them limited options. And that will help them start to move more towards eating the things that you're wanting them to eat. That was one of the biggest things. And yeah, sometimes, if the balloon goes up before you can get them changed completely over, then it's just going to have to be tough love. Because really, they're old enough now, they can be eating what you eat. So you just need to prep
Yes.
normally, and they will adjust. And they get a lot of that processed sugar out of their bodies. They get a lot of that other stuff out of their bodies. Their taste buds will change too. I'm not saying you feed your kids processed sugars. I'm just saying, in general, we're used to having a lot of processed sugars and things like that in our diets. Once you get off of that for a while, your body does change and you start to crave the more healthy versions, after that happens. So that does help physiologically for them as well.
Now
So
you
I hope
nailed
we
it
answered your
with that,
question.
Oily. And I'll tell
Yes,
you what, poop changes for children after about 5 days of eating healthy and not the cereal. So I had bunch of little kids say with me, and their poops, they were constipated. They would be 11 and I have to give them a glycerin suppository. And about on day 6, it was, Miss Mouse, my butt thing doesn't hurt now. I make littler poops. Instead of a big cannonball, they had more of a properly shaped, because their body's not trying to get rid of all that fried chicken, fried okra, corn on the cob in one bowel movement, from them eating at Kentucky Fried Chicken or somewhere. And the children on day 5 know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did
Yeah.
leave in the
And
comments that her kids like rice and mac and cheese, and that's actually half the battle. If they like rice, you're halfway there. If they like mac and cheese, guess what? Those little boxes of mac and cheese, even though they're not the super healthiest thing on the planet, they store forever. If you get a couple of cans of that,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of spaghetti noodles for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That was a great
Yeah.
question. We just went on a rant.
I know we did. We
We went
did.
all the way to
Okay.
poop.
I know. Boy, this chat just went
It's a
way
good
down
topic
here.
if you can get poop in there.
Ghost,
If you can get a bowel movement in there, it was a good
Ghost
topic.
knows. He knows how to talk the talk.
Oh my word. Okay. The visual in my head right now, I do not need. Okay, so in assessing your preps, looking at your basic needs. Okay, so if we've been talking about food a lot, but like water, if the grid goes down, just like for us, and this is something I've been trying to get my husband to understand, if the grid goes down for a long time, how are we going to get water out of our well?
Hand pump.
Yeah, well, it's a really deep well. It's almost 300 feet deep.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But yeah, but we do live in Oklahoma, so a windmill would be an option. So that might, and it's very windy up on top of this hill. We're surrounded by commercial windmills, unfortunately. So that's an option. So I've been trying to get him to look at that, because that is a really huge purchase. But eventually, you can prep as much water as you want, but eventually it's going to run out if it's a permanent scenario. So
What would be
things like that. Go for it. What?
a cheap option would be a DC pump and a solar panel.
Yeah. Now he has talked about doing that, so that is definitely something we have considered, and that would probably be the way we would go, just because of where we're at. We're in Oklahoma, so we have sun most of the year. It'd be very rare that we didn't have sun. So, and it would be a lot cheaper than.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're
A
not
lot
going
of
to have
other
sun at night, but you could hook it up to either an external battery, or you could just pump up, 400 or 500 gallons a day and put it in a holding tank, like an IBC tote by your house, and pump from there. Or
Exactly.
do rainwater collection.
Yeah. So we don't get a lot of rain. I mean, we've been basically in drought conditions in the 14 years we've been here, all but maybe 1 year. So that's not a real big option for us. But I mean, we could catch what we could catch for our garden and things like that.
There's a channel you need to see, and I can't remember the name of it. It's a man and his wife, and they live in the desert in Arizona, like literally in the middle of Death Valley, and they are surviving on nothing but rainwater, and they get like legit like what, an inch a year, maybe 2 inches a year. But he collects it off of his
preparedness.
No, he collects it off of his roof. But he built 4 or 5 little low to the ground metal tin roofs. They're like, the high end's like 5 feet, the low end's like 3 feet. He built several hundred square feet of those just out in the random yard around his house to collect additional water. He's got, like, it rains like that. When it rains that 2 days a year, it's like the 4th of July at the house. They're running all over the place, and they're storing up these tens of thousands of gallons of water. And this dude even made a drainage ditch, because like when it rains, it'll be like a flash flood for like 5 minutes, and then it goes away. But he made this drainage ditch area that he guided the water into his property from the road, and he took it over to a little garden area. And this dude planted fruit trees in the desert, but he hoards in the water and he brings it to the trees. And he's got like an underground cistern where it just holds the water, and then he pumps the water up for all these plants. He's growing like orange trees, apple trees, pear trees in the middle of the desert, and all on rainwater. Now, he did say the first couple of years he had to bring in a truckload, but he said that the last time I watched his video, which was about a year ago, he said that the past year they made it completely through the entire summer and did not have to order or bring in any water.
Now, Ghost, you say it was a couple, like a man and a woman, who did that?
Is it the Green Dream Project? Is that the channel? Raven Cat.
No.
But is it a man and a woman in the desert?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this always takes me back to the lesson that Oily and I have taught over the last few years for ladies. Marry a man, not a sissy. Okay? Oily has a man who could probably turn the wind in Oklahoma and the sand in her yard into like some kind of functioning motor.
Yeah.
My husband does not have manicured fingernails. He's a man. He builds things, right? He can make things go. That man in the desert knows how to do things. He's not a sissy banker. He's not wearing tasseled loafers that maybe when he goes to church. Marry somebody who has some skills. If he doesn't, be the butch girl who has some skills. But you can't have 2 sissies in a family. You can't do that.
No.
That was my public service message for the day.
All I did was I like literally put it in the search bar, rainwater catchment system, and I scrolled through it. And if I remember correctly, it's a picture of him standing in front of like a 5,000 gallon black water cistern. He's just standing there, and but I mean, they made a several series of videos, and I just remember it was really awesome. They were living in the desert off of nothing but rainwater.
That's awesome. I will definitely have to check those out.
That might be it.
Yeah.
That might be
And
it.
we already do have a solar panel, and so we were already kind of moving on that path. So we'll definitely have to do some more research on that. My hubby is so busy, and I always hate to harass him about different things, but that's one of the biggest things I'm concerned about. We have the shelter, we live out in the middle of nowhere, so we basically live in our bug out location. I mean, we are next to a highway, but it's not one that's used a lot. I mean, it's mainly farmers. It's not. It's not a major highway. So, and
Right.
we're like an hour and a half to 3 hours away from any major city. So we're good there.
Yeah, I left a county of 750,000 when I left Florida, and I moved to a county with a population of less than 40,000. And the
Yeah.
nearest town to me has less than 4,000 people in it. So
Yeah.
I could be more rural, but I
Right.
just couldn't pass up the deal on this house. It checked off everything on my list. I've got a basement. I've got a root cellar. I've got, all these important things that I wanted. A fireplace, plus the house runs on natural gas and propane. Plus I have a wood burning fireplace. I've got my Jenny hooked up. It's a tri-fuel Jenny. Plus I have a solar generator.
Right.
And the only issue that it wasn't a big check here was water. But the reason why I went ahead for this property was it's completely wooded. I mean, front yard and backyard woods, nothing but woods. Um, and there's probably a 5 to 7 acre pond, maybe 50
Oh,
yards
wow.
from me downhill, so I can go get water and run it through my Berkey. But my only issue is there are several people around here that know that pond's there. There are several houses on that pond. So it's going to be in the broad daylight, you're getting water kind of thing where everybody else is, and I kind of want to fly below the radar. So I'm going to get up to speed on my rainwater catchment system. I haven't built it yet. I mean, I've got everything for it. I'm sitting here holding my first flush device here right now. I just got to build it.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome. So, and another thing with assessing your preps, I think that, looking and seeing what you use every day and maybe keeping a list for a week, you don't realize what all you use. And then also looking at those, is this something I could live without? Is there another way I could handle, you know, substitute something else that's more available to me than this, like making your own soap. I mean, I've got a little hand blender and I can make my own soap. Making your own soap is not hard. If Gardener Josh is out there, by the way, he's wanting to know how to make soap, I can teach you. It's so easy, especially while you have electricity. And soap's not something that's going to go bad if you've got it sealed up. It's not going to go bad. So you could make a bunch now, rather than when it's easier and it takes 10 minutes rather than hours upon hours of stirring to get it up to trace, if you have to do it over an open fire and you're stirring and stirring and stirring. If you've got the little electric submersion blenders, it goes really fast. It gets to trace super fast, and you can have it made up in 10 to 20 minutes, no time. So easy to do. So things that you could do, figure out how to do on your own, figuring out how to get your own lye out of ash, how to separate the lye out of the ash, things like that. Because you want to know those skills now and practice those skills now, because you don't want to be waiting until a shift event and not know how to do it and end up causing basically a lye burn on your whole family because you thought the soap was good and you used it, and then it caused a lye burn because it was very lye heavy. So things like that, looking at different plants in your area for medications, looking at things that are natural that maybe you could plant in your area that would substitute for those medications. And if you can't, if it won't grow in your area and you have no way to grow it, going ahead and having those herbal things dried and put up so that you have
yeah,
those prepped and handy.
yeah,
Like somebody was mentioning, blood sugar, Ocotea, Ocotea, Ocotea or Ocotea is great for regulating blood sugar. I'm not saying it's going to be a cure-all for a diabetic. I'm not saying it's going to take the place of their insulin, but it'd be worth trying while you have access to your insulin. You could see if it would help drop your numbers down or level it out if you need to, because even if it's low, it'll help level it out as well.
Like
So,
if you're a type 2 diabetic and you never go out to eat at a restaurant again and just prepare your own healthy food, your sugar is going to get in line within 3 to 6 months if you just eat healthy, especially lots of green beans. Green beans are awesome for diabetics. But I mean, everything goes to crap as soon as you put one of them processed burgers and French fries into your gut. That sets you back.
yeah,
If you just go eating straight healthy, I mean, there's a reason that type 2 diabetes is curable. It's a documented fact it's curable, but doctors don't say that because they make a whole lot of money giving you insulin and
yeah,
pills. They don't come out and tell you, well, dude, all you gotta do is eat right and you won't have diabetes anymore. What?
yeah.
Yeah. Like legit, all you have to do is eat right and drink lots of water and your type 2 diabetes will go away.
You're muted, Mouse.
And he nailed it with lots of water. That's what people don't drink enough of. And by the way, Gatorade ain't water. It's full of sugar and other things.
Oh yeah.
And along the lines of what Oily was talking about, like why not learn how to make soap now? If you don't know how to make bread, and remember during the big red dragon and we already had the cessation and the stoppage of food into stores, right? Then learn now, because you have access to yeast now. Buy some flour, learn how to do it now. Don't depend on your 500 pounds of flour and your yeast when the poop hits the fan that, oh, all of a sudden I'm gonna learn how to make bread. Okay, because you're gonna waste that yeast and that flour.
Exactly.
Learn now when things are better, even though yeast and flour is more expensive. Hone your skills now, because I can't believe anybody go without freaking bread. Okay, bread. It's bread.
Yeah.
It's a filler.
And here's the funny thing too. I'm like one of the very few people on the planet. I could never have another piece of bread again in my life, and it would not faze me a bit. I've never been a bread guy. Like legit. I mean, I'm 6'2". I weigh 240 pounds, and I can legitimately eat one meal a day, and I will not lose one single pound. I will not gain a pound. You know, if I'm lethargic and I'm not doing like physical work, like doing crazy stuff, one meal a day, I'm fine. Now, if I'm sweating and putting in work, I'm eating 3 or 4 times a day.
Yes.
But like as far as the bread goes, for some reason, I've just never really been a big bread guy.
But what state do you live in, Ghost?
In North Carolina right now, right on the South Carolina border.
But you didn't come from North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah, I was born and raised here.
Could your mama not make biscuits? For God's sake,
Oh, yeah.
man, you don't have to use
I make
such
biscuits. I make
I
them
don't
every
care
now and
for
then, but I'm
bread.
just saying
I live without
I
a
do
damn
biscuits. I eat biscuits probably at least once a week. I get up and make sausage biscuits and stuff. But if I had to do without something,
It'd be
it would
bread.
probably be bread. Yeah.
Okay, because you scared me there. I'm thinking you're like the man of all of our prepping dreams, and you don't need bread. And I'm thinking, who the hell don't need a biscuit with honey or some blackstrap molasses? You broke my heart there.
I mean, I eat my biscuits, but as far as just, saying, I would go nuts without bread. If there was one thing in my preps that I knew I would never get to have again, and I could be all right, it would probably be bread.
Okay.
Like, I'm not a huge bread guy I'm like, I think I'm on a keto diet and I don't even know it because I eat meat, man. I eat meat, like for real. For lunch, sometimes I'll just go to the fridge and I'll have a sandwich, but I don't have any bread. I'll just have 3 or 4 pieces of turkey or ham and throw it in my mouth and a little squirt of mustard and I go on about my business.
That's
Lunch is done. You know what I mean? There's no preparation. Just, hey,
That's hilarious.
Sexy.
I do the same though. I do it like most of the time. I do like a breadless. I'll just I might do like crackers or something like that. I might do like 3 or 4 crackers, and then I'll do a couple of pieces of the lunch meat, and maybe a slice of tomato or a sliced up half of a cucumber or something like that. And I just soon have that as anything major, for lunch anyway.
like going without cheese would suck. I love cheese. I love cheddar cheese.
That's bridge too far right there. Yeah.
Bread. If I had to choose one and one had to stay and one had to go, I'm keeping the cheese. The bread can go. Like I even went. I got like 8 or 9 pounds of cheddar, mild cheddar the other day, and my cheese wax just came in the mail, so I'm gonna go ahead and wax my own cheese and go ahead and get that put away with the ghee. But yeah, I gotta have my cheddar.
See, smart man.
Hey, Hawaii.
Cheese just makes everything taste better.
Of course. And that's another thing. People learning how to make their own cheese. out of milk or powdered milk. You can do that. You can make like a mozzarella.
Yeah.
Super easy, you know, as long as you have a way to heat that up and stuff, you're good. You're good. And a
Yeah,
way
that
to
was
strain it.
like I was born and raised in Greensboro, North Carolina, Level Cross area. I was raised there, and then Charleston, Summerville, South Carolina, and then I moved to Florida, and then I just moved back to North Carolina.
Good. Yeah, I'm right below you in South Carolina, outside of Charleston, South Carolina.
That's where I grew. I spent 3 years living there. Actually, I have family. I was just there. I have family that live in Summerville or outside of Charleston.
Get the heck out of town. That is far out.
No, my great grandfather was he's on some historical plaques in Summerville. He was had a whole lot to do with the Civil War and all kinds of stuff down there.
Wow.
Yeah, we used to own a plantation down there.
That is so cool.
Wow.
That side of my family just got rid of it. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It was a museum and all that good stuff. It's pretty neat.
Wow, it's a tiny world, I'm telling you. But see, even though Oiley's in Oklahoma, she's still our southern sister.
Oh,
you know
yeah. But I've got family in that live in Columbia, Charleston, Somerville, Pineville,
nice.
Monk's Corner.
Oh, and you're familiar with the flooding that happened in the whole state of South Carolina that year, where we got 14 inches of rain in 24 hours, and Columbia was 8 feet underwater.
Yeah.
And those are other things, like we're all in a house raised up on stilts. You better have that potable water inside your house.
Yeah.
So each different region with different issues, like tornadoes require different places and types of preps, because your bottles of water go flying out the window, right? Ours would go floating down through the waves. So, Oily, it's almost 9 o'clock.
I know. I can't believe it. Any last minute questions from the side chat, the audience, and also any other tips or tricks as far as assessing your preps and creative ways to prep those items?
I say Ghost rocked this whole thing, because this was a blessing.
I think so.
It was fun, man. I like talking to you guys.
Good.
We would love to have you on again sometime. You just holler anytime. We're on Wednesdays in the evening, and you're welcome. Same time, anytime. You just holler at me and say.
I follow orders real good. Just tell me when.
Know that we're not any better behaved. We don't get any less weird. We're just the same every Wednesday.
The more we get used to you, the ornerier we are. It's just how it
is. Yep, Ivory said it flew. It did fly.
It really did fly. I can't believe how it feels like we just got started. I feel like we have a million more things to discuss. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys, again, I said it at the start, but a lot of you weren't in here. Please, if you haven't subbed to Ghost or to Mouse Toes, if you're new to either one of them, please go check out their channels. Their links are in the description below. Yeah, Ghost was very well behaved. We'll have to fix that next time, Ghost. I saw your comment about that you never twerk, and I had put out a deal on my community page saying that maybe we could get you to twerk just as a joke, but the YouTube's deleted it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let me do it.
You'd probably be arrested for sexism and prostitution or pimping. One of those things. I don't want to go down. I'm not going back to jail.
I'm kind of used to being single. If I started twerking, that would probably end up changing, and I just honestly don't know if I need that lifestyle change.
Yeah, then you'd have to prep more stuff, wouldn't you? You'd have to prep more stuff, wouldn't you, Ghost? Man.
You'd feed a harem. I mean, really? Logistically, that's just crazy.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. Well, thank each of you so much for coming. And thank you again, Ghost, for coming on. And
anytime.
I'll just send you the link. And anytime you want to pop in, you can come in anytime, any Wednesday. Thank you all for coming. I love each of you. God bless. And guys, please remember to prep for it. Prep for it all. Bye, guys.